Now, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, what Africa needs today is growth that is broad-based, inclusive, and sustainable. Now, by all accounts, there is growth and indeed a growth momentum in some African countries. Yes, growth in many countries has by far exceeded 5 to 6% per annum. Now, if we interrogate the growth, we realize that it is a jobless growth that has not resulted in significant transformation. And transformation, ladies and gentlemen, is what Africa needs at this hour. But the continent cannot depend on the rest of the world for financing its development. It should depend more on domestic savings. Now, the private sector is therefore the driving force that can trigger the necessary transformation that could result in meaningful poverty reduction. The future of the African continent is not written anywhere. It is open and it is up for grabs and depends largely on what we do in the present. That is, the strategic choices that we make in agriculture, manufacturing, renewable energy, governance, investment, socio-economic transformation, and also social protection.
I was quite struck by our keynote speaker, who basically put the challenge just to say, look, this is all great that Africa is growing. You have very positive, and we know this, and we've benefited from it. We have very positive growth figures over the past years. But he basically said this has been non-job creation and non-inclusive growth. So it's not good enough. We need to do something different. And private companies are at the core of this. They need to do something else. So this is where IFC comes in.
Virunga Power is a company that's designed to create a model for the for-profit rural utility that's financeable, that's sustainable and scalable. So we're looking at projects that are 1 to 10 megawatts in capacity across renewable technologies with the goal of eventually creating a model where we're distributing power directly to rural consumers who can both afford for that power and can use unlimited amounts of power.
Almost all studies indicate that the problem of energy access will be solved in sub-Saharan Africa. At least 40% will be solved by mini-grid and off-grid solutions.
A lot of times banks get proposals which are half-baked, and because of time you reject them. Financial institutions won't tell you this, but not many of them have an energy capability or know-how to look at an investment-grade energy proposal. So if you can work with financial institutions to upskill sector that you want to partner with, now this would be like a PPP relationship, that would work. The third aspect, and it can come in any other form, is a guarantee mechanism. Then I think you can unlock, because what you've done is, again, you mitigated risk.
Food security and people getting enough food is about putting money in people's pockets, which means two things. It means full-blown industrialization, okay? And it also means far more efficient agriculture. And the two actually go together, and this is the really controversial thing I want to say, because both of them mean urban drift. It means more urbanization. It means freeing up land so that agriculture can become a lot more efficient on this continent.
What we think and we believe in at Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa, AGRA, is to catalyze a green revolution in Africa, trying to bring and move these farmers from the 1 ton to 3, 4, 5 metric tons per hectare, and it can be done.
There is a lot of awareness campaign to be done, but you can still grow, and growing in these systems, growing more from a very small piece of land, instead of using flood and wasting and destroying the soil, growing and using more drip irrigation or modern technology irrigation, that you waste less, you get more from the land.
If you look at the amount of fertilizer Africa uses, our farmers are using at most 9 kilos per hectare. When you look at the developed world, 450 to 500 kilos per hectare. So who is organic and who is ruining the world? It's not the African farmer.
I think what people need to realize, the GMO debate has already been lost.
Yeah.
Whether you're for it or against it, it's the world we live in. You know, and you take one of our key customers, Sainsbury's, saying no GM. I mean, the fact is, nowhere in the world can you talk about no GM. I mean, something like 80% of all maize is GM, 80% of all soy is GM. And for Africa to be actually pushing back on it, I mean, it's just totally unrealistic. GM will be opened up across the whole world.
But What I can say that people don't even use the hybrid seeds in a very low portion. The hybrid seeds, let them explore. If they use the hybrid seeds properly, there will be no problem and grow properly. The food security will be there.
And I agree with you. If all the farmers use the hybrid seeds properly with good agronomy and the right inputs and the support that we are talking about, they'll get to those 5-6 tons per hectare. At the end of the day, it's actually not us. The governments are the ones who will determine what will happen to their countries.
If you look at good farming, it's here. We're faced with every challenge. We've got, issues with climate change, we've got issues with productivity, but the farmers and companies here, it's tremendous that we can teach the world so many things. And for me, in terms of Africa, we have to get people to understand we are the best, and that we should be taking and grabbing our space and claiming that space so that we celebrate our success.
Investing in SMEs pose a lot of challenges. One of the major thing I would say is you approach your investment with high level of integrity. We train the staff and the management, particularly with the help of also IFC Business Edge department. This is just a snapshot of what we do in West African Venture Fund in Liberia and Sierra Leone.
There are a few challenges in raiding in South Sudan, and basically one of them is the availability of security. Land has not been demarcated in most of the areas, so there are no title deeds. The other one of the challenges is financial literacy, the knowledge of the population to know the importance of taking bank loans. We have tried to mitigate that through financial entrepreneurship training in conjunction with IFC. So far, through this partnership between Equity Bank and IFC, we have been able to train about 400 customers of the bank. These are purely South Sudan nationals. We have extended up to 40 million South Sudan pound to workers, public servants, and most of this credit has been used to construct shelter. When we went to Juba, the population was about 500,000, and today it's over 2 million.
With IFC, one of the things we've tried to do is include the corporate governance module in the business edge. He talked about business edge and how we try to train SMEs to understand how to run businesses. We can see success stories like this, and we hope to see more success stories, because these businesses that he's talked about, they're small today, but they're going to be big tomorrow.
And I think what has made Equity Bank survive and really continue to be profitable during the conflict is the fact that they were very proactive in terms of segmenting the market. My message is just remain diversified and make sure that you're so segmented at the portfolio level, at the sector level.
Based on the experience that we are going through in South Sudan, I think investing in governance will pay more than any other area, because at the moment, even what is happening in South Sudan is at a sort of poor governance, both at the political and also at the business and institutional level.
In Kenya, 3 out of 10 children in grade 3 have grade 2 competencies. Wow. So 7 do not, and yet they progress. So if you were to go to grade 5, or grade 7, or further on, then you can see how the problem compounds itself. The other thing is that children in private schools perform better, even in the lower level competencies, than children in public schools.
In Kenya, the success is measured by only one ruler: examination. If you cannot pass examination, you are a failure. So there is no success. So my challenge to education is that we need to think outside the box, because passing examination is not the success we are thinking about.
But health and education doesn't make the treasury happy. And there's always been seen as a cost center. And macroeconomically, these social pillars were previously never scaled up in discussions in our countries until recently. How can private sector address the key areas? And they're the 4 key areas that everybody's been talking about in healthcare and in education: The first area is access. The second area is about affordability. The third area is about quality. And the fourth area that everybody has been also mentioning is equity. And in all four areas, the private sector in healthcare plays a role. And quite often, there's been debates about, does health create wealth or does wealth create health?
It's a question of quality. And when we see how education and health, they're the things that are going to make a difference for you in the future, parents are willing to put in that money and invest because these private institutions actually care. We're constantly listening, asking for feedback, measuring their children's results, measuring their health results.
You know, anybody in this room, if given the choice, would actually seek private health care as an option as opposed to going to a public hospital. And that's the case pretty much across Africa. That's what the statistics show. And so from our perspective, the question is, you know, this is pointing to a general distrust of public healthcare service. So why is that? The fact of the matter is that the perception is that private health drives innovation, better innovative treatment, more efficiency, better quality of treatment.
There is a continued interest really in talking about how can you push private sector participation in this area to the next level. Everyone is looking for that, and so I think that gives me a positive inclination for the future, so that there's continued interest, pushing the boundary, doing more.
The IFC FT Transformational Business Awards recognize private sector investments that integrate environmental and social corporate governance considerations in their business, and they show leadership in innovation in these areas.
Innovations such as electrical vehicles, smart grids, green buildings, climate-resilient agriculture, low-cost healthcare delivery, and high-performance robotics have the potential to advance rapidly in conjunction with ongoing revolutions in information and communications technologies, material science, and genomics. These new sectors are the key to job creation, to improve living standards, and to environmental sustainability.
A former winner of these awards is Kilimo Salama from Kenya. For the non-Swahili speakers among you, it means safe agriculture.
In 2013, we insured about 185,000 farmers between Kenya, Rwanda, and Tanzania against drought. We do that using a new technology called weather index insurance. Traditional insurance relies on farm visits. You'd visit the farm at the start of the season, halfway through, and at the end. And if something went wrong, you'd visit again. We won the IFC Financial Times Award for Sustainable Finance for our use of technology.
So last June we won the Excellence in Sustainable Finance Award. I'd say the business has become even more commercial since then. We're selling on credit. You buy a solar home system for a rural household, 3 lights plus phone charging plus a small rechargeable radio, and the customer pays us 50 shillings a day. They pay through the M-Pesa system, and what that does is over that year they work toward ownership of this system.
And if this quote here, it's too soft-hearted for some of you, let's remember Mark Twain when he said, plan for the future, because that is where you're going to spend the rest of your life. It starts with you, and it starts with I. And this is why we have created these awards, for you to tell us the story of the institution you represent, for you to tell us your story. We encourage you to apply to the awards, and I hope to see many of you, if not all of you, in London on June 12th.